Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited you're here. Thanks for being here. If you don't want to miss any future videos that I upload, make sure to subscribe and click the little bell so that you're notified whenever I upload new things. So let's get right into this. I wanted to show you guys how to create a nice, bright, cheerful summer arrangement for your tabletop. This design is going to go on my dining room table. So I wanted to make it low in profile, but nice and long. I want to make sure that people can see over it if they're sitting at my dining room table, but that it still take up a nice chunk of space on my table. As you can see, I created this arrangement in floral foam. So while I was getting ready, I just filled my scene with water and dropped my foam in there and let it soak up some water. And then I cut it to fit my container. And then as you can see in the middle of that, the shiny tape, I always tape my foam into my arrangements. I have had it happen multiple times where I don't tape my foam in, and then for whatever reason the arrangement falls over and then the whole thing just goes spilling out. So I've learned my lesson, tape your foam in. To save some money, I decided to go into my backyard and snip some greenery. So all of this greenery is just from literally trees and bushes in my front yard. But if you don't have any type of greenery in your yard, go on a little walk and snip some things. It's a great way to save some money. It's also a great way to incorporate different types of greenery in your arrangement without having to purchase multiple bunches of greenery. So saved me some money. That's what kept this arrangement around 20 bucks. So I always start the base of my arrangement with greenery just to get my general shape and design down. And then I go in with my focal flowers, which in this case are these really pretty tulips. I think they came in a bunch of 10 and they were like $7. So definitely a good deal for those. And a fun fact about tulips is that as they sit in the water, even after they're cut, they continue to grow. So as this arrangement sits on my dining room table, the tulips are going to kind of grow more and they'll change directions and turn with the light. So it's always kind of fun to see what the arrangement's going to look like the next day as far as the tulips go. But they were just such a bright, fun color, I couldn't pass them up. So I created the general shape of my arrangement with my greenery, and then that is always going to be my guide. So I'll use that as my guide as I add the rest of my flowers in. So as you can see, I'm not gonna let my tulips go much past my greenery in any direction. And then same goes for my accent flowers, which are these hot pink mini carnations. I like to fluff out my mini carnations just so that they're nice and fluffy and take up a lot of space. They fill in a lot of empty space, so they're a great accent flower. But again, you don't want it to expand too much past your greenery. You can almost use the greenery just as like your border. But just start adding it in and filling in the space. A tip with designing in floral foam is once you've cut your flower and stuck it in the foam, you don't want to take your flower out and immediately stick it back in the foam. Foam is a really great way to design, especially for beginners, because it's forgiving. You can take flowers out and manipulate them and stick them exactly where you want them to be, but you don't want to pull a flower out and then stick it right back in the foam because the flower won't be able to absorb as much water that way. So if you stick the flower in and then pull it out again, always make sure and give it a fresh cut and then stick it in a new spot in your foam. You don't want to stick it back in the previous hole because it won't be as sturdy, and B, it won't absorb as much water that way. So always give it a fresh cut if you take it out of the foam. But as you can see, I'm just building on top of itself, adding in the flowers, creating dimension by sticking flowers further into the foam, as well as leaving some flowers further out in a more natural way, but continuing to stick with the general shape and guide of the greenery that I started with. As I mentioned at the beginning, this is going to be sitting on my dining room table, so I want it to stay nice and low in the center, but be really good and long on the sides. So I'm letting things fall naturally on the sides, nice and long, but then having it be shorter in the middle. This filler that I'm using is called Solidago, and it's a really beautiful filler. I love it. It takes up a lot of space if you just use one stem bunched in together, or as you can see what I'm doing here is you can cut off each individual little stem and spread it about your arrangement, and it just creates a nice soft color throughout your whole arrangement. But then if you want to, you can just snip the whole thing and stick it in there, and it fills in a lot of space. Just creating more dimension by sticking flowers further into the foam. And then I'm going in with some more filler. I was really excited about this purple filler here. I just wanted flowers that were nice and bright and cheerful looking, and I just really love the color combo that this arrangement ended up with. And I think this purple just really pulls it all together. Sticking with the general guidelines of the greenery that I created at the beginning, but also just trying to let the arrangement have a nice natural boho look to it. Always turn your arrangement around, especially if it's one that's going to be seen from all angles. You want to make sure and turn your arrangement as you're designing it, as you're putting it together, to make sure that it just looks good from every direction, that it's nice and cohesive across the whole arrangement. My little helper there. One great thing about floral design is that you can just kind of create it until you feel like it's where it's meant to be. You just keep adding until you love it. And if you don't like it, there's no harm in taking things away and adjusting it and removing things to make it perfect, make it your own. Here at the end, I realized I just needed more dimension. Everything was kind of starting to be one general height. So I was trying to stick some more carnations down in further to create more dimension. And then I also noticed that I could see some of the tape that I used to tape my foam in. And so I was trying to just cover up all the tape and all of the foam. You don't want any of your mechanics to be seen. If it's an arrangement that's going to be sitting on your dining room table, a trick is to actually sit down and look at it. You want to sit down and see what it's going to look like from the view of someone sitting in front of it. Because a lot of times you can't see the mechanics when you're standing above it. Just adding in some finishing touches. Covering up more tape. Just trying to finalize it and add in last little bits of dimension, fill in empty spaces. And even with the $20 that I spent on this arrangement, or the flowers for this arrangement, I still had some left over. So I was able to put together a small little arrangement for my side table as well. So there you have it, a $20 grocery store arrangement, a nice summery bright tabletop decoration. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video, and if you want to be notified when more videos are uploaded, make sure you click the little bell. Thanks for being here, guys. See you next time.